Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're going to be talking about Leave the World Behind, the Sam Esmail 2023 movie that we just finished watching like 5 minutes ago. I just made some coffee and now we're going to
Y-
talk about it.
Yeah, you want to talk about fresh? We literally just
Just
watched it,
watch.
so like messy. Scott, you've seen it before. I have not, and I have thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
Seems you didn't love the ending. Oh yeah, by the way, big spoilers for this movie. I don't think we can talk about it without spoiling
it,
it, I'm afraid.
yeah, really hard to be spoiler free with this movie. Like, let me tell you,
Yeah.
you can be vague, but it's one that warrants spoiling everything. So,
Yeah.
um,
Right, so you didn't like
it,
the ending that much, it seems.
Yeah. Basically the whole movie as you noted is like reactions of characters. The whole thing is there's like seemingly some sort of cyber attack against the United States or like the whole world, we don't really know, but fucking planes are falling from the sky and just like crashing on the beach. There's an oil tanker, there's all this weird. It's so funny. We were noting that, like how Jordan Peele-esque the movie feels.
Hmm.
There's all these weird
It
things.
has
They
a
never
very us
explain.
vibe to it.
Yeah, they never explain the flamingos, for instance.
Well,
There's just a bunch of
for
flamingos
me,
that
it
land in
seems
the
like the
pool.
flamingos and the
And
deer is just like these animals, like fleeing from what's the like the shit that's going down, and just hiding out
yeah,
where they can.
but they're in like New York. Like, where would flamingos come? Like I was saying, I was like, maybe they escaped from like the zoo somehow, or like
Maybe.
I don't know. There's all these weird things that they do, and like the idea is supposed to be that like there's some sort of attack, seemingly a cyber attack, and the movie ends with New York getting like bombed, and the last note is that the characters like end up in a bunker.
Yeah.
So, but they my thing is they don't show that. One character makes it to the bunker, and there's
Well, we
two
know that
other
the everyone else
groups.
is going there though. Like that's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we would if they all made it together.
Well, they
And
set it up.
I
There's
was,
because like they said, oh, you should go to
of
your
course,
neighbor because they have a bunker there, like what that Kevin Bacon said to Mahershala Ali and Ethan Hawke. And with Julia Roberts, she was going there anyway because she saw the house and she was following
they
her
saw them.
kid
Yeah,
and the bike
yeah.
tracks and everything. So like they were already going to like meet there. So for me, it's fine. Like they were meeting there, and I like the ending on the note of her playing the last episode of Friends that she's been talking about the entire movie because it's like her only connection to like a normal world after everything that's gone down, and the song being the Friends opening is like I'll be there for you, because you're there for me too and everything because like everything they have at the end of all this is each other, which I think is a nice, it's an interesting note to leave the film on because of how like we were talking about as we were watching, but like in a situation like this we're just following a family, well, two families, but like six people who have no connection. Well, Mahershala Ali a little to like explain the mystery a little bit, but they don't really have any connection to what's going on. They don't know what it is. We actually, by the end of the movie, we don't
Yeah,
know who's behind this attack or how
yeah.
far spread it is. It seems to be all of America, but we don't know.
The whole no phones, no TV, no
Yeah,
radio thing is very clearly like meant to cut the characters off. And it
yeah.
is a thing that like a lot of movies have explored the idea of like, we have no connection. Like, what do we do? And we have no
Well,
phones
it's
and
the kind
like,
of thing of
we
like
don't know
this
what's
group
going
of
on.
people, like at the end of the world, they're all like trying to do something. Like Julia Roberts says, "Is this what sitting ducks are? Just ducks waiting to be shot?" It's kind of like, yeah, but at the same time, what else are you supposed to do? You're just like six people surviving in a house. Like you're not like a politician or military. Like what are you gonna do in a situation like this? Like they are powerless in the sense that they keep trying to fight for some level of control over this, which is again nice as like what Mahershala Ali mentions about like the idea that no one actually has
Well,
control, not even like the rich and powerful. That everyone, all the most rich and powerful get is a little heads up instead of actually being in control of these things.
yeah. Well, and to this movie's credit, like I was obviously the ending was the thing that stuck with me the most and that like didn't quite sit right with me, but I did like most of this movie, and the
Hmm.
best parts are the dialogue,
Oh yeah.
like the scene with the wine and the vinyl records, like that is really really good stuff. There's like it, the characters have conversations that feel like very realistic to how they would be
Mm-hmm.
talking in a situation like this. They're drawing on like stuff they know. They're they're speculating a lot, and they're also like laying out like what they regret, what they might like. And they don't get along earlier on because the again with the Jordan Peele thing, it's like the premise is that a family goes to a house and like on a vacation deal, just on a whim, and then seemingly the people that own the house come back, and it's like a knocking on the door, and it's like, hey, they got like a really sketch story about like why they came back, and then it's like, what's going on? Like, are they even at this house? But so there's a lot of friction at the beginning, but then like all the characters get along, and it feels like a proper ensemble piece because they
Mm-hmm.
make it so that like everyone gets kind of their own dialogue scenes between each other, and I like that the movies run on that
Yeah.
rather than
Well,
on
it
the
seems to
mystery.
me
That's
to
why the
just like
flamingos like
be exploring more of like the mental state of what would happen if like the apocalypse happened, like
yeah
how
like,
normal people would survive. Like Julia Roberts says that she hates people, but then Ruth Mihaela says like, well, yeah, but they're all we've got, and she says yeah, and it's like I say I hate people, but I want them back. So it is that kind of feeling. It is very Mr. Robot. As well, we'll talk about this being the Mr. Robot universe as well. I don't like that, but we'll get to it.
I was about yeah we'll get there.
Yeah,
Go on.
but it's that same feeling that Elliot has. Shit, I'm not gonna spoil Mr. Robot for the people watching, but there's a very specific scene near the end of the show where Elliot expresses that similar feeling. Um, and I like that idea being explored. It also talks about like there's a moment where Ethan Hawke mentions one of his students that wrote a book, and he says her second book's like an exploration of how media
Yeah.
serves as both an escape and a reflection, which is a contradiction that she manages to reconcile. And I think that's what the movie's about, like trying to reconcile the contradiction of people suck, at the same time it's all we have, so we kind of need to,
Well,
the same of
another
our world.
something that's further cool about that detail that I loved is that he mentions that he's like, I don't know how much I'm impressing on my students. Like
Uh-huh.
I think they might like forget about me, but it's like, no, like she was inspired by him to write a
Yeah,
book, and then she wants him to write the foreword. It's like
yeah,
she mattered, like that he mattered to her. And it's
yeah.
like that it's a cool thing to think about and that this movie explores.
Yeah,
So
and
I
obviously the movie uses like Friends, especially with the that little girl. I forgot her name. Shit, the 13-year-old girl, Alice from the Bad Utopia,
yeah.
uses her.
GH has like the most memorable name
Yeah,
in the movie, unfortunately.
and Ruth, I
And I remember
remember.
Danny. Yeah, and I remember Danny just because of Kevin
Kevin
Bacon.
Bacon is Danny.
Yeah,
Yeah, Ethan Hawke is Clay. I
yeah.
don't think I remember the others, but regardless, the girl who's obsessed with Friends, like that they use that as like because well, for one, Ruth says that it's like a show that is nostalgic for a time that never existed, and I'm like, yeah, and it that's kind of all you have at a point like this where like the world is falling apart. You want to fall back into something safe that reflects the world as you want it to be instead of the world that actually exists. Which is again the fucking contradiction that movies try to reconcile within the human psyche of like humans, like they hate people but they love people, and the world sucks but at the same time it's all we have. It's I think
I
it
don't
all works
know.
thematically quite well.
Don't you think it wouldn't have been in like a stronger note had they been in the bunker for just a little bit, and then like all of them sitting down in front of the TV? Like, wouldn't that have like rung a little more like, hey, they're all together, and like now this is all they have? Like it felt like a cliffhanger of a TV episode. Like, the next episode you get them like making it back to the bunker. I something about it just didn't quite sit right with me and felt a little unfulfilling. Even though they set everything up, like I thought there would be one last reconciliation, but not really. They just kind of leave that
Well,
to
like,
interpretation, I
well, yeah, it's
guess.
just like I think the movie's resolved by that point, and the note it wants to end on is specifically about that girl who has been trying so hard to finish watching Friends the entire movie. She was stuck in the last episode of the show just before the world ended. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like focusing just on her. She's finally getting what you
Yeah.
look for in the whole movie, and it's
Well,
just
I
a
liked it in
reflection.
isolation.
Yeah,
It's really funny seeing her just binge at the with the food at the beginning, and then she
yeah.
like finds the DVD collection. Like it's a really
And she goes
well equipped
straight for
bunker.
for
Yeah,
Friends. Just like, yes, I'm going to watch the finale. And I don't know, I like that it ends with the Friends theme song. Like, I think it fits the thematically really well. Like, I think it all works really well. I can understand though, like you wanting them to be all together though, but I don't think it's like necessary. It can seem a little like unfulfilling, I guess, on like a surface level, but I think it's fine. Like I said, they set it up fairly well that they're all gonna meet there anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even the timer, for instance, on the phone, like GH sets the the 1 hour timer, and then that goes off. Like he broke his promise. He starts driving back right away,
Yeah, he's right.
obviously, but then like I guess he'll go to the house, and
I think the
again they
point is
told him
just
about
like,
the bunker, but
yeah, I think the point is just that yes, he is driving back now. Like that's what like the timer is supposed to show him. Like yeah, okay, it's time to come back. Which again is
yeah,
just like a point to like say they're all going to be there at the same place.
I don't know. Something. I'm glad you vibe with it. The ending was a little bit of a sticking point. Not like a film ruiner, just
Yeah,
like it felt like the movie stopped.
I
And
can
there's
understand
a
it's
couple movies
it
like
can be a
that.
little unfulfilling, I guess, but I don't know. I think it worked fairly well. Um, besides that,
You
you mentioned a bit that you thought the movie was longer than it should have been.
Yeah, 2 hours, 20 minutes. I honestly think it's a rough runtime in general. Like
It is a very slow film, but like I don't
yeah.
mind it. I don't know. It's like obviously it's like it's different from like
uh,
a movie like this with like the story it has. You kind of expect it to be like 90, 100 minutes long. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm sitting down and rewatching this all the time because it is so long, 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm always like, you need to be in a specific vibe to watch this movie because it is a slow burn. But I kind of like that it is, and I think it works for it fairly well. Like I don't know if there's a scene I'd cut, you know?
well, again, that was what I was thinking. I was like, what would I do to trim down the runtime? And I was laughing at it as like most of the movies built around the dialogue between the characters, and like
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to subtract those conversations. I suppose the answer is get rid of some of the intriguing elements. Again, like the flamingos. Like you couldn't you have just cut that? It's like yeah,
But
like
it's like what, 20 seconds, 15 seconds? I mean,
well, I mean, like in terms of like the plotting, like and the scenes that they have, like they could have maybe subtracted some of what goes down because it doesn't really add too much. Like, you know, the sound, like, and it's all built around the chapters and the specific things that happen in those chapters. Like, I don't know what you could have done, but something about it just feels a little overlong and like affects the pacing. But they still it's not like it's boring or like a drag. It's just it's a little overlong for what the story is, in my
yeah, the
opinion.
story is extremely simple because we're seeing it from the eyes of these characters. If it was like actually know what was going on, it would be fairly complicated,
Yeah,
but we don't, which is part of the intrigue. I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like the runtime makes sense for the way the movie is, and I don't know. I I don't think there's anything
I
that like I would
well,
cut. I think it's fine as it is.
honestly, me either. I don't even really think it's that big of an issue. It was
Uh
just that little thing where I was watching it and I was like, you maybe could have made this a little bit more
yeah.
digestible. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think too many people know about this movie or that it
Yeah.
like stuck around. It wasn't a big movie in 2023. I'm like, maybe it could have reached a little more people had like it been shorter. But again, it's also kind of a niche movie. And like I said,
Yeah, I
Peel-esque.
mentioned it. It is
So
a
yeah.
very niche movie, and it was marketed as a like fun horror like movie for everyone to
Yeah.
watch. And it's just like there's a reason why this movie was, you know, people didn't like it. It's because it was marketed fairly poorly, not to the right audience, and not in
I
the right
hate
way.
that whenever like trailers shoot a movie in the foot. It's like it's not their fault that it's like hard to market,
Yeah.
but like I get it. You want to get the word out and try to get people excited,
There's
but
so many
maybe
movies where I'm like,
or
you
miss
just
mold on it.
shouldn't make trailers for them. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
So many movies, like
Yeah.
Companion is the one that I always think about. Like, if I hadn't seen a trailer, my experience of that movie would have been so much cooler. But it's whatever.
Well, the first trailer was perfect because honestly, teasers are usually better
Yeah.
than I'm just like there's
Well,
teaser
yeah.
trailers should be the
The
only ones. Like 28 years later, I'm in.
yeah,
Joker Fully You Do, I'm in. Just great teaser trailers
teaser.
are
Well,
sometimes all you
Life of
need.
Chuck only had a teaser, and it was just literally like showing uh Tom Hiddleston walking down the street and then just flashing like directed by Mike Flanagan, starring banana. It was like 30 seconds of that. Like you don't know anything about the movie's about. It just shows you a few shots of what like the movie looks like, and that's it. Like yeah, that's what it should be. Just sell me a vibe. Don't sell me anything else other
Yeah.
than a vibe.
The best trailers are exactly that. They
Yeah.
like give you a taste of the experience. So
Yeah. But
let's talk about the Mr.
yeah, that's
Robot
exactly what I
deal.
was
That
gonna get
like
into. So, mild spoilers to Mr. Robot. The show kind of ends on a fairly positive note, especially with what Darlene ends up doing in the last season with Dom's help, as well as just Elliot doing the thing. I don't want to spoil too much, but I think you know what I mean. So, I think it is a little frustrating to get that universe that ended on a fairly positive note and turn it into like a doomsday scenario.
Exactly. Because honestly, the plotting stuff, like they mention hackers and all that, like, who knows what, like, different,
Mm.
maybe like some fringe group that like Elliot was like indirectly involved is like, that kind we have no idea because that's the whole point of the movie. But that was my issue of like Mr. Robot
It
ends not
doesn't need.
necessarily on some like holding hands.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like a really overt happy ending, but it does end on a positive note. And it's a shame that in this movie, basically the world ends. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's what becomes of Mr.
That's what I
Robot.
mean,
And
because it's like I get the point. I get why Sam did it, because the universe in Mr. Robot is supposed to be ours, basically. It's supposed to be like a fictionalized version of ours, but extremely realistic and extremely like ours, so that we can actually buy that everything that happens in that show could happen in our world. Which is why he uses so many real world examples of shit in his show. But and so like he wants to make this movie be set in that universe to be like, see, it could happen in the real world in the same way it could happen to that world. But at the same time, I'm just like, you don't need to connect it. I just want Elliot and Darlene to have like a happy life after the show ends. You know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah, I suppose the only thing is that like the connections between this movie and Mr. Robot are so thin that you could almost just like
Oh yeah, I had
bro-
it as not being in the same universe. I'm
it,
completely fine with it.
it seems completely like, why did he do it? It seems unnecessary. Just to like
I don't know. Well, it's what
I
I
don't
mean.
know.
Like thematically, I kind of get it, but I don't know. There's not really any need for it per se.
Yeah, I'm happy to just kind of headcanon it
Yeah.
away, but I don't really understand why, other than just that it is his universe, which I'm like, fair enough, but like I'm not the biggest fan of that in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. But it isn't something that like ruins the movie. Like this movie could fairly easily be set in the Mr. Robot universe. Like it doesn't contradict anything. There's no problems there. It's just a little annoying that like
Yeah.
a somewhat happy ending is kind of undone.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like other things to talk about, like this movie does look really good.
I
Like
was gonna say
I
cinematography. I
got
kept saying during the entire movie, Todd Campbell went so hard with the cinematography. I love the way this
yeah.
movie looks.
And the implementation of like CGI.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like CGI stitches like to the cuts and like the sets, and there's CGI animals like the deer and the flamingos. They look pretty damn good.
Yeah.
They're a little glossy, but like for a
The
Netflix
flamingos
movie, like
especially, I thought, because it was like they were on the pool with the fucking blue light underneath, and it was fucking raining, so it was like a lot of things that would make it look fake. The flamingos, but the deer especially look really good.
yeah,
And I mean the boats.
it's
I mentioned the oil tanker, like that scene with it hitting the beach. That looks really good. I mean, if I know it's
yeah.
CGI because they would never fucking do that in real life for a movie,
Well,
unless it was Nolan. But it doesn't even look like CGI.
no, it's a full like they're running beside it, like it's a full like tanker hitting like the beach and like sand coming
Yeah,
up. Of like for how big and blockbustery that shot was, I'm like, I think they made it look pretty damn
yeah.
good. So it's th- this movie is good. It really is. It's just like there's a couple of things that stuck with me, but like all things considered, I think it was a lot better than I was figuring. Because again, I was mentioning it to you, like these mysteries. I'm not a fan of like movies where weird shit happens. You're like, whoa, what's that about? And it's like there's flamingos in the pool. Whoa. It's like those movies bug me because oftentimes like the answers you get like aren't that satisfying. But for instance, this might be my favorite scene in the movie, the plane hitting the beach when he goes to the house and then there's like trash and a bunch of stuff like in the front lawn and then there's water like just kind of flooding the house and then he
Yeah.
goes
I
outside
remember
and
your
then
reaction. You were like, "What is happening?"
they just play it in reverse basically finds the dead pilots on the beach and then like a
Yeah,
plane is coming
yeah,
and
he
then
just sees the plane debris, and then boom, plane coming towards him, and he runs away, and he hides behind the door, and it's such a cool shot. The
water
camera just
and water
moving
comes
back.
in, yeah.
Oh,
It's so great because like all at once you get all of your answers for like why things went down that way,
yeah,
and
and it
they
makes
cut
perfect
that between
sense
three.
with the planes as well, that they would lose communication and at the start crashing. Like, it just works
Yeah.
with the scenario
Well,
of the
and not
movie.
to mention his wife was looking to get a plane back from Morocco,
Well, that's what's
so
devastating. He
y-
sees the planes crashing, and the first thing you think about is, fuck, his wife is was on a plane.
yeah, for which he does not get the answer. He just keeps texting, but
Well,
his texts aren't even
text it,
going
yeah,
through,
because he doesn't
and
even have internet or telephone. They can't even
he's
get a
just
fucking net phone working, like a satellite phone working. It's fucking insane. Everything is cut off,
yeah.
and that's kind of like part of what I like about it. Like, he doesn't get an answer. Like, he wouldn't. He just
Well, and that was what I was mentioning with the mystery thing is like oftentimes it ends like us did where you got like a character just like breaking down everything and giving you all the answers and sometimes when that happens like oh that's bullshit.
yeah.
It's
I
like
mean, the entire
but
answer in us is something.
but in this movie they like a lot of the mysteries just kind of like left up to like what you
Yeah,
perceive because you're in the same shoes as the main characters. None of
yeah.
them really have all that much more interest information than the audience has. They're just reacting to what they see. So
Yeah, and I
I
mean, we do get a sort of explanation when Mahershala Ali, when GH is like, "Oh, why I heard about this, the three-stage plan and everything," and he explains how it goes down, and it does line up with what we've seen. But it's at the same time, we don't even know if that's what happened because we can't know. It's just his guess.
no. It is the funniest thing about that when they're showing everything because again, so many movies do that. They're like, "Oh my god!" Like the Teslas, like that's why that was that. It's like what? It's like it's like well, maybe
Yeah,
like it's
it
just kind
could
of what
be.
you're seeing.
He
Like
he doesn't
maybe
even know
that's
for
what it
sure.
is.
He's just like, fits with what I'm thinking. It's part of what I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
There's a video I've shown you, the next Legion video I'm working on. I already recorded it, but I mentioned about how, like, playing with the perception of like the audience, of like, a character just explains something and you're like, sure, but like, that character could be wrong. He's assuming a lot of stuff when he explains about that. Like in Legion Chapter 7, it happens a lot, and I'm like,
Yeah,
just
sometimes you just accept something
yeah,
because a character says it. You're like, ah, yeah,
yeah.
that's probably true. But it's like the
It's, the character
characters can
could be
like be
lying, they could
mistaken
be wrong.
or
Yeah,
yeah, any number of things. You like make certain assumptions when you're watching a movie or a show, and it's
yeah,
funny to see a filmmaker play with that. So
yeah. I mean, I
it's,
quite like this movie. I
I
rewatching
did
it after
too.
like
Yeah.
2 years. I watched it when it came out. Watching it again now, and I'm like, I still really enjoy it, and I still think it's a very fun way to use friends in a movie.
It's funny. I still have not seen Friends. I need to at some point. My God, that's an
I've
all-time classic.
I've
But
seen Friends like 11 times.
I'm glad that nostalgia hits home, but slightly hollower for me. Uh, yeah, it's funny. There's so many movies like this where they just get middling. This is like a 50% on Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes movie. I think it has a higher score, but it's one of those movies that people are like, it's kind of bullshit. Like maybe check it. It's like when it comes out, like it's like, hey, is that good? It's like, but I'm like, I think it's underrated. I really think there's something more there than like just a middling Netflix movie. It's way better than
well,
that, and
the
there's way more
tomato
behind it.
ratings. So the critic score was 74%. The The audience
Yeah.
score was
It's
36%.
probably 30. Yeah, I knew it'd be in the 30s.
And I remember when the movie came out, my parents watched it and they said like, "Oh, this movie's so shit." Like they were talking to me about it. I was like, "Oh, we watched the movie yesterday. It was so bad." Oh, interesting. Then I watched it like a week later with a couple of friends, and I was like, "Man, that was such a good movie. Why did you like it?" So it's I don't think
Yeah.
it's a movie for general
Most
audiences. Even though my parents watched Mr. Robot with me and liked it, but
Well, and most critics as well, I would imagine would be similar. Again, like 76 is like a relatively low, like slash
it's
like
relatively low, but
backhanded rating, and
at the same time, it is a lot more positive, which you kind of expect. Like movie critics, I guess for lack of a better
yeah,
word, that are a little pretentious, but in sometimes in a good way, where they understand like the intent behind something a little bit more than just general audiences watching something for like the fun of it.
yeah, little bit more to chew on for that. But seriously, I would recommend this movie.
Yeah.
It's funny we always do that, but I'm like, I would recommend this to people. It's a shame that it's kind of like fallen under the radar and
Hmm.
been known as like you kind of take it or leave it movie, because there's more there. There's more there, especially with the dialogue and characters, and I do think it's worthwhile. So
Yeah, fairly interesting movie. I do quite like it. All right, well, Evan, it is that time of the week where you recommend something.
it it is that time of the week where I recommend something. I'm so I have two picks. I've got a backup pick. Warner Brothers, in their efforts to slit Bugs Bunny's throat from ear to ear, fucking hamstrung the marketing campaign for a 2D animated movie that a lot of people say is really good, but barely anyone is watching it because like it
I
got damn near no
genuinely did not
marketing.
see any marketing for it until the movie came out. So I was like, "Oh, this
Nothing.
movie's out." I didn't even know it was.
Yeah, the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie, the Coyote v Acme movie got like canceled,
Yeah.
obviously, but that was another one that was always on the cards, and it's out in theaters now, and probably not going to be in theaters for too much longer.
Right.
And
Well,
I'm
I
curious,
I
is it
hate. I
playing
was
near
gonna say I hate
you?
to be the bearer of bad news, but it is not in theaters in Brazil, so
Fuck.
we cannot do that one yet. I fear.
See, please, I am going to try to see that movie in theaters. Everyone who's watching this now, see that
Go watch
movie.
that movie
It's
now.
it, it it's ridiculous just how poorly it is doing, and it is directly because Warner Brothers like shot them in both feet. That movie, from what I understand, is worth it, so you should watch it. So,
Yeah.
all right, backup plan it is.
Mm.
You started us on a little bit of a Shyamalan arc. I want to get back to our Danny Boyle arc,
Ooh. Okay.
so I
Oh,
am
as good as
going
Steve
with
Jobs.
Steve
I
Jobs.
knew
Yep,
it. You always
that
talk about how
is
good that movie is, so yeah.
That is up there for my all-time. It's funny. I list The Social Network as my favorite of like Sorkin's work. I don't usually like adding like multiple filmmakers. Like I like I don't have like multiple Finchers on my like my top 20 because I'm like I should just stick with specific ones. But I that is actually a toss-up for me if that's my favorite script from Aaron Sorkin, because I love the script for The Social Network and I think it's probably his best on paper, but man, I love Steve Jobs, and it's overlooked. It's a movie that's a movie that a lot of people haven't seen or appreciate, and I think it's like peak. So yeah,
Fair enough. I've been wanting to watch it, and it, funnily enough, just got added to Amazon Prime this week. I was actually probably gonna watch it even if you hadn't recommended it, so at least we could do an episode about it. All right.
yeah.
I'm excited. I like Danny Boyle. Everything I've seen from Danny Boyle has been peak, so yeah.
I hadn't seen too many of his movies until we started watching some together, and like I still haven't seen Slumdog Millionaire or like all of 127 hours, but like
Oh yeah, you
I
hadn't seen
love him as a
Trainspotting till we
filmmaker. He's
till we watch it for the
yeah,
podcast.
just those were solid, and it's like he's a really good filmmaker. It's funny how like relatively like middle of the road he is. He's not like a huge name, but like most people like know and love him,
Hmm.
and I think he's great. So yeah.
I see his name attached to something. I assume it's probably gonna be good. So Exciting.
Fingers crossed for 28 years later, man. We'll see how that turns out with Garland. And after all this time, you never know.
Hey, if Garland wrote Peak once, he can do it again.
It's true. He's written Peak more than once. He wrote Dread. I've liked his scripts, but
Yeah,
as of late,
sometimes,
he's done
Men
things.
is something. Yeah, I remember when we watched Men. That was such a funny experience because it's like most of the movie nothing happens. You're just like, okay, and then there's that ending.
Yeah, man. Not to mention Annihilation. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah,
We'll
Annihilation.
see.
I forgot he made that movie. I barely remember anything about that movie. I watched it once. I was like, okay, that wasn't good. Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right.
yes, we'll catch you next week with Steve Jobs, folks. And yeah, Leave the World Behind gets a thumbs up from us. My thumb is
Absolutely,
bigger
it
than
does.
Evan's thumb, but a thumbs up nonetheless.
Yeah. Slightly above, like, nah, yeah, slightly bigger thumb.
So like that should be how we rate movies. How big of a thumb do you give it? That's so stupid. All right, thank you, folks. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.